The propeller plane rattled as it cut through heavy clouds, the Indian Ocean glinting far below. Jamie pressed her forehead to the window, watching Madagascar's coastline unfurl, jagged cliffs, rust-colored soil, and an endless green canopy of rain forest. She had dreamed about this trip for years, photographing lemurs in their natural habitat, trekking through untouched jungle. It was supposed to be the adventure of a lifetime. Her travel companions, Max, a restless journalist chasing a feature story, and Claire, a childhood friend with a cautious streak, were less enthusiastic. "Remote doesn't even cover it," Max muttered as they stepped onto the tarmac of the small airstrip. "Feels like we're at the edge of the world." Claire adjusted her backpack straps, her eyes scanning the horizon where jungle swallowed the horizon. "Just remember, people disappear in places like this." Their guide, a wiry Malagasy man named Armand, greeted them with a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. His English was rough but serviceable. 3 days' trek to forest camp. No towns nearby. No roads. Only bush path. We go light. The trail led them past rice paddies shimmering in the sun, then deeper into the trees. Humidity pressed against their skin, every breath tasting of earth and decay. Strange bird calls echoed overhead, unlike anything they had heard before. Max scribbled notes, Jamie took photos, Claire trudged silently. By late afternoon, the sky darkened without warning. Rain came in sheets, drumming on leaves and turning the path to mud. Armand urged them forward. "We must reach shelter before night." His tone carried a sharpness that made Jamie uneasy. They stumbled into a clearing where a few rotting huts sagged under the weight of vines. "Old village," Armand explained, his voice low. "People left long ago." He didn't say why. The group set up camp inside one of the huts, its thatched roof barely holding back the rain. While Max fiddled with a lantern, Jamie examined carvings etched into the wooden beams. Spirals, jagged shapes, eyes scratched deep into the wood. "Local art?" she asked. Armand shook his head quickly. "Not art. Warning." That night, sleep was impossible. The jungle roared with life, frogs croaking, insects shrieking, branches snapping under unseen weight. Sometime after midnight, Jamie awoke to silence so complete it pressed against her ears. Then came a sound, faint and drawn out, like breath whistling through broken teeth. It rose and fell, circling the hut. Jamie reached for Claire's arm. "Do you hear that?" But Claire was already awake, eyes wide, clutching her sleeping bag as if it might shield her. Outside, something dragged across the dirt. A scraping sound, deliberate and steady. Armand sat upright, machete in hand, muttering words Jamie didn't recognize. He didn't open the door. He didn't move. He just listened. When the noise finally faded, Jamie lay awake until dawn, convinced that something had watched them through the cracks in the walls all night. Morning brought no comfort. The jungle seemed changed, quieter, shadows lingering longer between the trees. Armand refused to discuss the night's noise, dismissing it as just animal, but his tense posture and clipped answers betrayed unease. They packed quickly and pushed deeper into the forest. Vines hung like curtains, and giant ferns brushed their arms. Jamie snapped photo after photo, yet each frame felt off. Blurry edges, light warped strangely, as if the forest bent away from being captured. By midday, Max lagged behind, his shirt drenched. "This is madness. No phone signal, no radio. What happens if someone gets hurt?" "Don't think about it," Jamie muttered, though doubt gnawed at her too. Claire's nerves showed in the way she kept glancing back down the trail. "It feels like we're being followed." Armand finally stopped. "No talking like this." Bad luck. He pointed to a ridge ahead. Camp there tonight. The ridge offered little comfort, just a patch of bare earth beneath towering trees. They built a small fire, its smoke curling upward into the dark canopy. Jamie stepped away to photograph the sunset bleeding red across the horizon. That's when she noticed them, shapes in the trees. Not animals. Figures. For a moment, she thought her eyes were playing tricks. But no, there were at least 3 of them, crouched high on branches, silhouettes against the fading light. Their limbs were long, their heads oddly tilted, as if studying the group below. Jamie stumbled back to the fire. "There's something up there," she hissed. Max grabbed his camera and rushed forward, snapping blindly into the trees. But when he lowered the lens, the branches were empty. "See," he said, frustrated. "Nothing but paranoia." That night, the forest came alive again, but differently. Not with animals, but with voices. Low, guttural murmurs weaving between the trees, rising in rhythm like a chant. Claire clamped her hands over her ears. "Tell me you hear that." Jamie nodded, heart pounding. "Armand, what is it?" The guide's face was pale in the firelight. "Not for us. Not for outsiders." Then, from the darkness, something answered the chant, a single shriek, high and piercing, unlike any human sound. It rolled across the ridge, echoing until the forest seemed to vibrate with it. Jamie wanted to believe it was a bird, but deep down she knew better. The 3rd day broke under a grey, suffocating sky. Mist clung to the trees, turning every trunk into a ghostly column. The group moved in silence, weighed down by exhaustion and fear. Around midday, Max vanished. One moment he was behind them, swearing at tangled roots. The next, silence. No crash, no call, nothing. Just gone. Jamie spun in panic. "Max! Max!" Her voice carried into the trees, unanswered. Claire's face drained of color. He was right there. He couldn't have. Armand raised his hand sharply. "No shouting. It calls them." Jamie grabbed his arm. "What calls them? Tell us." He pulled free, eyes darting. "Things in forest. Old things. People say they live between." He tapped the air, as though indicating a veil. "When you see them, they already see you." They searched for hours, circling back over the trail, calling softly. No footprints, no broken branches, no trace. It was as though Max had been erased. As night closed in, they made camp reluctantly. Claire sat rocking, whispering Max's name, while Jamie forced herself to record notes in her journal. If they didn't make it out, someone had to know what happened. The fire sputtered weakly. Beyond its glow, movement flickered, slender shapes slipping between trees. Jamie caught glimpses of pale skin, glistening eyes, mouths too wide. Each time she blinked, they vanished. At some point, Claire stood suddenly. "Max is out there. He's calling me." Jamie grabbed her wrist. "No, you don't hear anything." But Claire's eyes were glassy. She jerked free and disappeared into the black wall of trees. Jamie lunged after her, but Armand restrained her with shocking strength. "If you follow, you don't come back." Jamie screamed in frustration, punching his chest, but he didn't let go. Claire's voice faded into the forest, then silence swallowed it. That night, Jamie lay awake beside the dying fire, listening to soft footfalls circling closer, closer. At one point, something brushed the hut's frame, a whispering scrape, like nails teasing the wood. She clutched her camera like a weapon and prayed for daylight. By dawn, Jamie was the only one left besides Armand. Her stomach churned with hunger, her legs shook from fatigue, but she refused to stop. "We have to go back," she said hoarsely. "We have to find them." Armand shook his head. "They are taken. Forest keeps them. We must go." He led her down a narrow path, roots clawing from the soil like skeletal hands. Jamie dragged herself forward, every sound magnified: dripping water, distant cracks, the hiss of unseen insects. At midday, they stumbled into another abandoned village. Empty huts rotted beneath moss. Carvings of eyes and twisted figures lined the walls, identical to those Jamie had seen the first night. She raised her camera, but Armand snatched it away. "No pictures. This place is not for you." Something about his tone chilled her. She realized then how little she knew of him, his story, his motives. That night, they stayed in one of the huts. Exhaustion claimed Jamie quickly, but she woke to voices, Armand's voice, chanting softly outside. She crawled to the doorway. He knelt before the trees, offering something wrapped in cloth. His head bowed, his words fast and fervent. When he turned, his eyes met hers. "It is the only way," he said. "A gift, so they let us leave." Jamie backed away, dread filling her. What gift? Armand's expression was unreadable. "You." She ran. Into the jungle, barefoot, branches tearing her skin. Behind her she heard Armand's shouts, then silence, then something else, the shrill cry that had haunted them rising out of the trees. Hours blurred. She didn't know where she was, only that the forest closed tighter around her. She stumbled into a clearing just as dawn broke. Ahead lay the river, wide and glistening. A way out. She waded in, the current tugging at her legs. Relief surged, until she looked back. Figures lined the bank. Dozens of them, tall and skeletal, their skin stretched thin, eyes black hollows. They watched her silently, unmoving, their presence heavier than stone. Jamie turned and plunged into the water, letting the current drag her downstream. She didn't stop, didn't look back, until the jungle receded. Days later, a rescue team found her half-conscious on the riverbank. She mumbled about voices, about shapes in the trees, about friends who vanished without a trace. The official report listed disorientation, exposure, and possible wildlife attack. No bodies were recovered. No footprints, no belongings. Just an empty forest that seemed to swallow evidence whole. Jamie never returned to Madagascar. But sometimes, in dreams, she hears the scrape outside her window, the hush of voices calling from beyond the trees.